Well, you're 2 weeks out from your show, right?
Yep.
Or, yeah, just about 2 weeks.
Well, 11 days.
Who's counting?
Who's counting?
What would you give advice to somebody who wants to start competing, step on stage for the first time? Is it worth it? If somebody like yourself, like a mom, came to you and said, "Yeah, I want to get in shape, but I think I want to step on stage one day," what do you think? What's your experience?
I would, like, any advice I would offer, I would absolutely encourage any woman to try it, to get on stage, because it's so satisfying and fulfilling, setting that goal, going through the ups, the downs, the challenges, and then on the other side of it, stepping on stage and that feeling of accomplishment. It's so satisfying and rewarding.
Yeah.
But it is extremely difficult. Like going through a prep as a mom, working full time, as a wife, it's I would offer the advice ahead of time to know what to expect, be prepared. It's extremely challenging.
What do you when you say challenging? What do you think the hardest part of being a mom and being a competitor? Like, what's the challenge?
The
Like,
challenge for me personally is trying to remove the guilt from putting in the time that I need to prepare for myself, because it comes with a lot of guilt. It's a lot of time invested. Like at this point, it's like 3 hours out of a day. And when my kids are home all summer, I want to give them 100% of me.
yeah.
But I need to give my prep 100% because it's something I've committed to. So removing the guilty feeling that I have from that is very challenging. Making the time throughout a super busy day is very challenging. Still being giving 100% to you as my husband, to my children,
I still count.
to my job.
I still count.
Yes. That's the challenge, is to sacrifice a little bit of time from your family, from your job, from your husband, to put in the effort to making your prep successful. It's very difficult to balance. But when you do all that and you go through 16 weeks of that, it's extremely rewarding. So I would encourage any woman to do it.
It is. I mean, I know where you're coming from in terms of like the time to put into it, and I know what time are you normally up for? 4:15. Your day starts.
4:15.
Training, getting the meals prepped, getting the kids ready. It's
And
difficult.
Still being the mother that I have always been, very involved, putting a meal on the table every day, cleaning my own home, driving my kids around to activities. Not every family dynamic is like that.
No.
Some people don't have to go to work full time. Some people have help cleaning their house and doing their laundry. Some people, their kids aren't involved in anything, so they're not running them around. But I'm a really involved mom.
Yeah.
So.
But would you say that all of that added up, and still looking the way you look and prepping and getting on stage, makes it even more rewarding, knowing that you've accomplished that, like living that lifestyle of, the prep, and you're going to work every day and with the kids, and I mean we're not lacking.
No.
In terms of your time, and I know your energy is low at some points,
but I feel like all the bases are covered and everyone gets taken care of.
Yeah.
But still, though, at the end of the day, I lay down in bed and I rewind everything, and it's still a little bit difficult to completely remove that little feeling of guilt. My energy was really low. So my kids are home all summer. They wanted to go for a walk tonight. I had to say no.
Yeah.
Did they lack? Was that a huge sacrifice? No. But at the end of the day, if I wasn't in prep, of course I'd be out there running with the kids, going for ice cream. I would have had that energy. So no, nothing is lacking, but I still have that pressure on myself where I feel guilty for the time. Like I feel a little bit selfish for the time I have to take for myself.
Yeah. But at the same time too, I think the kids watch you and they watch what you do, and I think it teaches them the discipline and the importance of, I mean, you're structuring your days around your prep, for instance, but that could translate to anything. That
Yeah,
could translate
absolutely.
structuring your day around studying for exams, structuring
Yeah.
your day around school, around whatever they have going on. So I think watching you do it, watching me do it when I'm in prep, I think it teaches them at an early age that when you have something important, when you have a goal, when you want to work towards it, you have to give it your all, regardless. There's no cheating, there's no cutting corners, there's no...
That's the thing too. Like they see I don't cheat on my diet. I
Yeah.
never skip a day in the gym. So even with like hard
Even with
days,
everybody saying to you, oh, just have the peace, it's not going to hurt you. Oh, don't worry about the gym today. It
so
does.
they see that.
They see
You're
that
right.
you don't, that you don't back down and you never skip a meal or cut your gym session in
we're
time.
teaching them to be true to themselves, right? Because if you cheat on those kinds of things, you're only
hurting yourself. I mean, no one's watching, but
no.
right? I mean, but,
So I think that is a good lesson that even when no one's watching,
yeah,
you're still committed.
yeah. No, I know it's difficult, but it's you get that question a lot. You know, I wanna compete. What do I expect? And it's hard to tell somebody what to
Yeah.
expect because you don't know what everybody's going through in their life.
Right.
So when someone says, "Hey, I think I want to try this," when someone says, "I think I want to try this," right away, my first instinct is to say, "You know what? Unless you really know what's involved in it."
It helps too when you have the support at home. A lot of people are all gung-ho, I want to do this, but they have a husband or wife at home who's maybe completely against it, will not lend a hand, will not contribute. That makes it really
Or maybe
hard.
says yes in the beginning, not really realizing what goes into something like this.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, we've seen it before where halfway through a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend gets fed up and just says, "You know what? I can't handle it anymore."
Yeah.
They're not the one in prep, they're not the one in suffering, but they're the ones that are saying imagine being 6 weeks out from a show and you've prepped for the last 12 weeks or so and having your boyfriend or husband or something say, "You know what? I'm done. I can't handle this anymore." And you've got
Yeah,
6
it's
weeks to go, and that's
devastating.
when you need their support. So it's devastating. So I think it's important for people to understand exactly what goes into it. And it's like everything else. It doesn't really matter if it's
What
your
kills
work.
me though is when people don't understand what goes into it, and they think I'm sure they're complimenting. It comes from a good place, but you're so lucky. You look so good.
Oh yeah, you're so lucky. I mean,
That's-
but they don't realize what the
that
sacrifice.
just goes to compliment your note there about they don't know what goes into it.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with luck.
Yeah.
This is blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, yeah. If you it's like it's almost like you want to say if you only knew the sacrifices I had to make to look this way, you'd probably not want to ever look this way.
Yeah.
Right?
Some people probably couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we know for sure. Most people can't.
Most people can. It takes a certain person to want to be able to do this because you almost have to like the suffering. I mean, I've followed Kevin Levrone for years, and the one thing Kevin Levrone always said when he competed is he enjoyed the suffering of prep. He enjoyed that being hungry and tired and forcing yourself to do the cardio and putting yourself through all that and the mental agony. And if you don't enjoy that,
Well, I mean, you're not really enjoying.
well, no, not okay,
But there's something to
it's
be
a
said.
driving force.
Yes.
It's a driving force.
Exactly. There's something to be said for why we do it over and over again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're suffering and
Yeah.
you're starving and you're tired and you're like it's grueling. But we keep doing it again.
We keep doing it. I mean, we're crazy. It takes a certain person
Yes,
to be
you
able
I
to
see
do it.
Where when he says you want the suffering, like I mean you do, but you don't.
You do, but you don't. I mean, you do. Like it's always the same when you're starting a prep and you're all excited, and then like you're 2 weeks out now, and you're just like, as much as you love the way you look and you
Yeah,
love the way you
absolutely.
feel, but you just want it to be there already. You want to be on stage already, and you want to just
Have the pizza already.
have the post show meal already. But I mean, when you live the lifestyle too, I mean, a lot of people. We've gone through it this year, obviously, where we didn't, because of my injury and because of my illness that I went through and some of the things, we both had a really poor off season where we didn't train and we didn't do much in the off season. But when you're in the sport, when you're involved in it, it has to be a lifestyle where, if you're just going to do it where the show's over and now I go back to living normal life. I mean, Sure, you can go through a prep again and look good and, you know, feel good about yourself. But I mean, if you're looking to advance and move forward and
Be better and
be
look
better,
better.
yeah, you're really not going to, right? I mean, it has to be a lifestyle where you're just living it 24/7 to the extreme of, you know, what an athlete does. But not everybody wants to do that, right? And I think we talk to a lot of people all the time about living the lifestyle, and they see what we do, but they automatically assume that it has to be as extreme as what we do. But
Right.
really, it doesn't, right? I mean,
So what would you tell someone who has a man who's never competed before, being that you've been doing it for so many years? What is it that continues to draw you back to the stage?
you know what? For me, I love it. I enjoy watching my body change. I enjoy, mostly out of all of it, you know, the body aside, getting on stage aside, I really love how my life is so disciplined and organized. And I mean, not that it's a disaster or chaos outside of prep, but when you're in prep, it's like for me, it's
Yeah.
like a switch that goes off in my head.
I can relate
It's
to
just
that.
like, boom, you know, I'm in prep. Everything's organized. Every meal is prepared,
Timed.
weighed, timed. Every workout, you sleep at the same time. You wake up at the same time. I put my clothes in certain spots so that, you know, I'm ready in the morning and I'm ready for work. And that for me is like the ultimate payoff for me. I love being like that because then it translates into everything I do at work.
Yeah.
Because then I find myself, you know, I'm at work and I'm doing the same thing. I'm organizing my desk and I'm organizing my day and my phone calls and what I got to do, and
And everything's just kind of
everything kind of just flows in. So for me, that's a huge part of it, and that's, I love being in prep. I remember my very first prep ever taught me so much about myself because I never thought I could be that disciplined in doing something or that organized at doing something. You know me, I'm not the most organized person in the world, but going through that taught me that. So every time I'm not in a prep and I start to, you know, procrastinate about things and get sloppy with certain things and, you know, fall off a little bit, I always crave that, going back to that. And it's not a hard transition for me because it's almost like, you know, leading into it. And then, you know, when I set a date for a show and I know whether it's 12 weeks or 16 weeks or 20 weeks or whatever the prep is going to be, and I know what that starting date is, something in my head just clicks and I'm in that zone automatically, and I'm in that zone for the whole entire time.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think a lot of competitors get like that.
I don't know. I wouldn't say. I mean, yeah, I think everybody gets into that, but it's the ones who can sustain it the longest and do it the longest who
They're
actually,
more successful.
yeah, they're more successful at it, right? I mean, because how many competitors that we know and we've seen mentally just kind of give up, but still, oh,
Go through the motions.
I got 6 weeks left. I can't quit now, but I'm gonna go through the motions so that, you know, physically, but mentally you're not there, and you know how important mentally is. Mentally, if you're not there,
Yeah,
forget it.
I'm like you, just 100% invested.
You have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to
The
be.
whole way.
Yeah. And if you're not, you're only cheating yourself. I mean,
Right.
you know, if you're gonna cheat when you're not supposed to, or if you're gonna, you know, you're not gonna get the proper amount of sleep and rest and, you know, hit the cardio when you're supposed to, you're only cheating yourself. Nobody else cares.
And I feel like the reward at the end isn't as sweet, knowing in the back of my mind that I cut a corner here and I cut a corner there.
Yeah.
How accomplished am I really going to feel at the
Yeah.
end? So yeah, I get what you're saying too. I think some athletes have never really felt as accomplished as I do.
Yeah.
You know.
I would definitely encourage someone to try a prep who's never tried it before. Not only, you know, and I get a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I don't want to be this. I don't want to." That's fine. You don't. I mean, I don't ever have any aspirations of becoming a pro. I don't have any aspirations of going further than, you know, where I'm at right now with it in terms of competition wise. But like I said, for me, it just helps me to be disciplined and structured in my life. So I would definitely recommend somebody try it, but go into it knowing what to expect and what it's like, not going into it blindly, because
You have to be realistic.
you have to be realistic, not only about you know, your time and your energy and your focus, but also your finances too, because I mean, let's be honest, it's not cheap. We do it together, so we know how expensive it is for the two of us to compete. So I mean, you know, when somebody goes into it not expecting, you know, the not only the cost of the food or your supplements or whatever, but then, I mean, the week of the show is probably just as expensive as the last 12 weeks. Your hotel, your travel, your tan, your suit, your
Makeup.
your for women, your makeup and all that stuff like that. It becomes really, really expensive. And you don't want to get to that point and cheap out on certain things like that. Doing your own tan, for instance, or doing your own makeup,
or not hiring a posing coach, or
yeah, you don't, because that's another mistake that so many people make. They get to the stage and they've trained their ass off and they've dieted and they look really good, but they never practiced posing or never practiced the routine. And when you go on stage, they don't get to show off
it's a
what it is.
multifaceted sport, in the sense that when you commit to it, you have to commit to all
Everything.
parts of it.
Oh, you have to, for
Yeah.
sure. You have to do the posing and you have to do the training and the dieting, and it just comes down to everything, like just, you know, the
Small details.
mind control and everything. I mean, you're right, it's multifaceted, and if you leave one part of it out, it's going to show.
Yeah.
That's what kind of sport we're in, and it's not a team sport. I mean, you play on a hockey team or you play on a baseball team or whatever team you play on, and you know you're having a bad day or a bad week, you have other teammates that you can kind of rely on. You can sit back a little bit, you know. Is it going to show? Yeah, it's going to show that you're not playing as hard, but your team's probably still going to win if you have a good team and your teammates are backing you up. With our sport, I mean, you know, you might have somebody who's motivating you, but that person isn't going to pick you up and carry you to the gym if you don't go.
It's another thing too, for someone who's never done it before, to know that, being that it's a single person sport, it's so subjective, like the competition
Yeah.
part of it. You're on stage and you're putting yourself out there, and if you don't have a little bit of a thick layer of skin, I mean, it could get to you if you don't place, if you don't.
It's bad. We've seen it.
We've seen it. We've seen people break down. We've seen people do show after show and not improve necessarily, like place wise, and it really breaks them.
Well,
and
we've seen
shakes
it.
them.
We've seen it to the extreme level where people just
Give up on the sport.
not only give up on the sport but give up on themselves. Like how many people have we seen? I mean, women mostly, but you know, get on stage for the very first time and place fourth out of 5 girls and just come off devastated and never ever go back to the gym again and totally give up on everything, because what was most important to them was just that placing, that trophy on stage. They forgot to watch the whole journey as they were going along.
Right, how they've grown and how
What
far
they've
come.
learned and everything about themselves. But
That's another thing too that I think any new competitor should be really conscious of, is that you can go through all this and place dead last,
yeah,
but you still have to get up the next day and, you know, carry on.
yeah, and you have to be able to tell yourself that, okay, if I place dead last, you're going to figure out why you placed dead last. What can I do to improve? I mean, if it was your intention to only do one show and only one show because it's a bucket list thing, that happens a lot. Great, then you don't even care where you place, because it's just I got on stage thing. But if you're one of those people that wants to advance further and move on to the next level, and you know you do place last, you do it. You take the positive road and say, okay, why did I place last? You know, what can I do to improve? How do I get to the next level? You know, do I hire a coach if they did it by themselves? You know, you talk to the judges and ask them how they can improve. Those are the people that excel in the sport. You know, you see so many people going online and ranting about their placing and, you know, calling out judges and, you know, blaming their coaches and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's an individual sport. You can't blame the judges, you can't blame the coaches, and it's very subjective. And if that's how you are, you're very, you know, judgmental, and you can't take criticism, then this is not your sport at all. Not at all, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You post a picture of yourself online from a photo shoot or from stage or from the gym or whatever. Even that, you might get people going online saying something. Or
We've experienced that.
Yeah.
We all have.
We have, but I mean, I think you and I do it for different reasons. I mean, you know, it's never about, I mean, I've been fortunate enough that, you know, I've won a number of my shows that I've competed in, and
I never have.
you haven't, and you keep pushing and you keep changing, and I mean, you do it more for your photo shoots and to stay in shape and stuff. For me, I mean, I just love being on stage. Like I said, I love competing. I love the discipline of it all. So everybody has their reason why they want to do it or continue to do it. So it's just fun to see the changes that you go through. And Mine was a bucket. Remember mine? Mine was a bucket list thing. My very first show was
And here we are 10 years later.
yeah. It was just like, okay, I'm going to do this because I've always said I was going to get on stage one time, and I think too. I don't know how it would have changed if I didn't win, because I won my very first time out. So if I placed third or fourth in that show, would I have gone on? I don't know. I can't say that I would have. I would have probably said, yeah, okay, I got on stage and I did it, and that was it. But as fate would have it, I guess I won, and here we are today, 10 years later, and
you inspired me, and
yeah,
here I am.
So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully people take take some advice from what we've discussed, and if you're looking to get on stage, if that's something that you're looking to do, I mean, talk to people who've done it before. Talk to a coach. Don't just jump into it head first and think I'm going to do this and not know what you're up for and what you're up against, and know everything. Ask people who've done it before. The time commitment that it takes, the financial commitment that it takes, and if you have a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, make sure you talk to them and let them know what you're up against here, because it's not as easy as anybody thinks it is. So hopefully you guys have got some good advice from us, and we'll talk to you later.